everyone, and welcome to Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, brought to you by TC's World of Wonders. Whatever your sports memorabilia dream, you can find it at tcsworldofwonders.com. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, with the great Matt Cooper, the voice of the American fan, live from Cincinnati, Ohio. And I tell you what, Matt, how you doing now, my friend?
Man, I am feeling good. Loving football season so far. It's been a very up and down What have we played? 8 weeks so far? We've watched so far? 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think 8 or actually 9 now. I think
Oh,
9.
man.
None, my friend. It's been up and down. But I tell you what, someone to help us break it down. Let's bring him in now, ladies and gentlemen. Super Bowl 34 champion, the great Fred Miller, joining the Monsters of the Madhouse. Hey, Fred. Good evening. How you doing?
Not bad. How's it going, fellas?
Hey, good, Fred. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Clint Campbell. I'm along with our co-host tonight, Matt Cooper. It's great to have you with us. We appreciate your time. And, Matt and I were talking backstage, Fred, about this remarkable show that is the Justin Fields experience for Bears fans over the last 3 or 4 weeks. You've blocked for a lot of great running quarterbacks, a lot of great running backs. Is what we're seeing from Justin Fields as good as you've seen as anyone in the league from the quarterback spot running over the last few years?
You know what? It's so different from when I played because, you didn't really want quarterbacks running in our day, and you didn't really have a lot of the read zone stuff and the RPO stuff that the guys have today. So it's a different element when they run, but it's really exciting football to watch, and they're doing a great job of putting them into an offense that he's familiar with, that he can be successful with. In the NFL, you really don't want to put your quarterback out there. It's kind of like playing chess and move your queen out early. Some people can play with a queen out there and not get her damaged, but at the same time, any little hit, can really take a quarterback out, and he can be done for the season or done for several weeks.
Yeah, like you said, Fred. I mean, it's a risky proposition. We see running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Justin. They are playing with fire week from week, and is the biggest difference when you played. You played in more of a traditional West Coast kind of NFL. Can you talk to our viewers about how the responsibilities of an offensive line changes in today's NFL when you have a lot more RPO, when you have a lot more quarterback design runs? How does that change the blocking job of an NFL offensive lineman?
Contrary to many people beliefs, most offenses that I played in, we didn't do a lot of audibles at the line of scrimmage. Even when I played with the Rams, a very complex offense, we didn't change a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage. We would go in some games and we would have some plays that we would change at the line of scrimmage, but not very many. Versus today's game, especially in college, they're calling probably 90% of their plays from the sideline at the line of scrimmage. And you will see guys hurry up and get in their stance, then they'll stand up and they'll get the play after the coordinators see the defense and see what defense they in, then they'll call a play that's more conducive to what offensive alignments they have out there on the field and what personnel they have out on the field. So, versus when I played, a lot of times, you're trying to hit a square peg in a round circle, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But that's what made guys like Brady and Manning extremely good, because they were like having an offensive coordinator out there on the field. They knew exactly what the defense was going to give them, and they knew how to get their guys into the right plays. It's funny. I was at this past Hall of Fame, I was talking with Kurt Warner and Trent Green, and I was talking to Trent, And I was like, man, how much, I was like, how much did y'all really know of the offense? What, you know, what didn't you know? He's like, man, I had to know every single person position. Yeah, that's pretty tough on those guys to know every single player what they're supposed to do. And as a quarterback, you have to because you got to know the routes that the receivers are going to run. You got to know the blocking assignments because you got to know you got to know when you're hot when they bring an extra guy. Got to know what the running back where if he's gonna block or if he's going out on the route. So it can be tough and doing these RPOs and doing these calling the plays at the line. I think that help the guys out a little bit, and so and it also frees them up to where they can run the ball and they're extra. So now they're an extra runner, and the defense has to account for that. If you have a speedy guy at the quarterback position who can get down the field.
Fred, you were just talking about that. Kind of what Cleet was saying, and excuse me if I clear my throat a couple times. I just had laryngitis. I just got over laryngitis, so I'm trying to speak as clearly as I can here. So we were
you need
talking,
a bourbon like me.
well, I live down here in Louisville, man. We're in bourbon country, so we have it everywhere down here, man. So kind of like what he was saying compared to when you were playing to now. A lot of talk of Justin Fields and how he's running with the ball, how good he's been the last couple of weeks. But you also hear like the worrisome of like how much you can run being a running quarterback without getting hurt. What do you see the difference as far as the players, especially the defensive players? I mean, I guess all the players in general on the strength conditioning from when you were playing to what it is now. Because I've heard players say that it's a little bit different. Some of the guys are bigger, stronger, and faster now, and it has a lot to do when they're coming from what college they're from. Do you see any difference?
Yeah. Well, all right. So I don't think it matters what college you come from because the NFL is all about finding the best athletes that they can. They don't discriminate. I don't care what your religion is, what your color is, what school you came from. They're going to find the biggest, fastest guy, smartest guy that they can put on the field, and because that's what produces wins. As far as the quarterbacks, I think quarterbacks are a little bit more susceptible to injuries because they never get hit. They never get hit in practice versus the offensive lineman. What we used to do is hit every single day in practice. So, you kind of build, you build your body is ready for that physical play versus a quarterback. He takes a shot the wrong way, then, he's going to be a little bit more susceptible to injuries. But we also know too that the quarterback position is the single most important position on the football field, period. No one else can control the game like the quarterback. You see, you see what happened to the Patriots when Tom Brady left.
Yeah.
For everyone to keep saying that it was it was Belichick. No, it was Brady. It's 100% Brady because he gave you the chance to win every single game, no matter how good or bad your defense played. He gave you the chance to win. So if you needed him to go out there and throw for 300 yards and 5 TDs, he can do that. If you need him just to be a ball magic guy, your defense is playing well, he can hand it off. He can do that. If you need him to go out there and throw it 60 times and not turn it over, he can do that. That's what made him the GOAT. The guy he gave coaches the ability to do whatever they needed to do in order to be in the game.
Very well put. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with the Super Bowl 34 champion, Fred Miller, here on Monsters of the Madhouse. Fred joining us. We talk about a portrait of consistency in a career, ladies and gentlemen. Fred Miller played 13 seasons in the NFL, started 164 out of 192 games. And Fred, if I could take you to one of the most, from my perspective, one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances by an offensive lineman in history. Super Bowl 34, you neutralized and silenced Tennessee Titans rookie sensation and future Hall of Famer Javon Curse holding him sackless while keeping your quarterback Kurt Warner on his feet and making plays for your St. Louis Rams en route to the Super Bowl championship there. Can you take us through your preparation for that showdown? Because Bonnet had a monster 1999 season. What was the key for you to denying the most explosive pass rusher in the game from getting to your quarterback?
Well, that's funny because we played them when at the beginning of the season. I believe they were 5-0, and I think we were 6-0, something like that. So the two undefeateds were coming in town, and we were playing in Nashville. At that time, being with the Rams organization, we hadn't had any success at that time, so it was kind of all new and foreign to us, a bunch of young guys because we were a really young team and starting to have some success in what we need to do. And I tell you what, it was the first year at that time. It was Adelphia that the Titans played in that stadium. That was their first year, and that place was so dang loud. Yeah. You couldn't even, if I would scream in your ear, you wouldn't be able to hear me. It was that loud. And man, he fed off it. I had the absolute worst game of my life. And after that game, I'm just like, man, you know what? Never that again, And the thing about it too, he's really, he was kind of like a Lawrence Taylor type, where here he is, a smaller linebacker, extremely athletic. Javon is probably one of the most athletic players that I've ever been on that I've ever played against. Definitely the most athletic guy I played against, and probably the most athletic guy was ever my teammate. The guy, the freak was a perfect nickname for this guy because, man, his hands, man, were his hands made mine look like baby hands. When I would put on his gloves, it was like my kid putting on my glove. It would, he was just, just a freak, and he had that get off, and that quick first step, and man, he did a great job and just a ton of energy, just ran all over the field. And we went back, and after I joined him the year later, we would watch his highlight, and it was amazing. The dude was just absolutely amazing. So I went, so going into the Super Bowl, and I'm so happy that year. It wasn't the 2-week layoff before the Super Bowl. It was just 1 week. So I had media every single day ask me, "Oh, how are you going to handle the freak? How are you going to do? You had such a bad game the first time." Yeah. And man, I was just ready. I was just focused. Like, dude, I know what I got to do. Know what have a game plan. Go out. Let's go out and fight. Man, our offensive coordinator Mike Marks came up to you. He's like, "Fred," he's like, "we're not going to give you any help. We don't do chips." He's like, "That's just not what we do. So if you block them, good, we'll win. If you don't, then we're going to have some trouble." And so he kind of just put the pressure on me, and we just went out and played, and had a good game. Had probably one of the best Super Bowl shows out there. It was a great game that was.
Yeah, well, you were really what made the greatest show on turf happen from a Viking perspective. And then, you flip it over to the Titans. You beat them in that cliffhanger of a Super Bowl. And the Titans are like, "We've had enough of Fred Miller. We're going to bring him in our house so we don't have to face him again."
Yeah, I tell you what, man, it was a lot of fun going into that locker room and being able to hold that over those guys' head. Especially growing up with idolizing, Bruce Matthews. I'm from Houston, and Bruce Matthews and Mike Munchak. So Mike Munchak was the offensive line coach, and guys who I really looked up to, and Brad Hopkins, and we had a really great locker room, and it was a lot of fun. Bruce definitely, he was in his 18th year then no, 17th year. And man, the guy was the biggest kid in the world. He made a game out of every single thing. We would, we would roll up tape, play baseball in the locker room. Many of us had, had tennis elbow from trying to throw junk in in the locker room. We would play, you know, Craig Hontrick brung in a putter and a golf ball, and we had this running bet with who can make the most putts. And man, it was just, just a ton of fun. The locker room was a blast.
Yeah. It's every football player's dream, but to realize that to hold the Super Bowl trophy, can you take us back to how you were feeling personally? A sense of accomplishment for yourself,
Yeah.
the team, the city of St. Louis, those final seconds to Super Bowl 34.
Yeah.
But when it finally dawned in that you were going to be a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, it's funny, especially when I watch other sports and, I just finished, I'm a big Astros fan. So just watching my Astros win the World Series. And I still, it brings up the nostalgia of me winning my championships. Like, you see the confetti falling down on the field and, everyone's, meeting up in the middle of the field. So you feel all that nostalgia. But it's certainly a feeling that's kind of hard to explain because it's so surreal. You're on top of the world, you're the best at what you do, and it's just a lot of fun. It's you put so much hard work into it, especially when it's your first championship. And for so long I've been playing football and just kind of reaching to the mountaintop and being able to enjoy it, especially on the largest stage in the world. There's no other feeling.
Winning the Super Bowl, I have to ask you this as I was thinking about this, because you're always going to have that special little place in you
Yeah.
with that team and stuff in St.
Yeah.
Louis. However, the team's not in St. Louis anymore. So what is your feelings on that when you watch that team play now? Because I have a lot of friends that live in St. Louis, and they are bitter as hell when you bring up the football team, and they don't want to talk about it. And so what's it like?
You know what? I'm bitter too. I still wish the team was in St. Louis. I feel like a child with no parents. That's what I. That's kind of what I feel like. We won that title for the city of St. Louis, and they deserved it. They supported us through all the bad times, and you know, um, you know, for them to lose a team, I totally get it. I get it, and I understand them being bitter, but it's business. You know how these business guys do it. It's why they're billionaires.
Yeah. Well, talking about taking care of business, if I can flash forward in your career, Fred, and we are talking with the Super Bowl champion, Fred Miller, here on Monsters of the Madhouse, ladies and gentlemen, along with Matt Cooper, the voice of the American football fan. You can hear him every afternoon on Q103.1 in Cincinnati. Fred, you had such remarkable chemistry with Olin Cruz, Quasar Mitchell, the entire Bears offensive line of that great 2006 team. Can you talk about how that team came together? You had a great run the year before. You had made a playoff run, and I know you feel this as a player. You just know going into training camp that you have a chemistry. You've got the ground. You have something here. Did you have a feeling that year there was a really good chance from day one that you could take it all the way to the Super Bowl?
Well, we had a really good veteran group, so we knew how to play the game. We've all been successful out there on the field, so we knew what it took in order to make it in order to get into the postseason. But we had such a great team, especially with the defense. That defense was, they were the catalyst. They were, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs. Man, you couldn't ask for two better linebackers, two better guys out there on the football field and the leaders. And Peanut was doing his thing with the old Peanut pun, and just such a great group. AB, Alex Brown, and that defense really set the tempo. And truthfully, we just need not to turn the ball over, and they would get us some points. We know Devin Hester. We know that he would give us some points too. That special teams, was great. We were clicking on all cylinders. We just knew as an offense that, we were in that management mode to where don't mess up the game. They will win it for us. And if we give up, the more points we give them, great. But they didn't need a whole lot for us to be successful.
Well, yeah, it was tremendous. You put all the pieces together, and that's really what kind of Ryan Poles, the Chicago Bears GM, is trying to do now: lay that groundwork, lay that foundation. And Fred, if we can kind of circle back to what we've seen from Justin Fields, what he delivered on Sunday, the greatest regular season rushing performance by an NFL quarterback in history, 178 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, averaged nearly 12 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Like you said, he can't do this week in and week out. We can't expect him to. How can the Bears best going forward utilize both his athleticism, his ability to make plays on his feet, but also, develop that deep passing game that they're going to need to be able to be a legitimate offensive force week in and week out?
Unfortunately, until his knowledge gets caught up to just being a primary pocket passer, he's gonna need the running to soften up the defense for him, because that's gonna open up the middle of the field, and that's gonna open up some deep passes, because you're gonna have to have safeties and those linebackers to kind of stick around to make sure that he doesn't take off running on you. And it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. And he has to have the play action, and he has to run the ball in order to be successful to throw the ball. Until he can get his skills and his knowledge up to where he can primarily throw it without using the run, you know, he just have to he just has to do what he has to do, and that's just part of the game.
Fred, what has impressed you the most about the offensive line this year for the Bears, especially the run blocking? Because the run blocking's been so
Yeah,
good. The running backs have been very good,
yeah,
very explosive. Has there been
yeah.
something that has stood out to you, or a player or two that has really stood out to you, or has continued to progress as you watch the Bears?
Yeah, I think it's a right. I think it's a progression. They started a little slow, and now they're starting to figure out what they can do, and how they can do it. And I think that comes along with the play calling as well. And they're starting to see, okay, well, this is he can run the ball successfully and get down as a Justin Fields, so that's going to help soften things up. And now we just need to do is create some runs to where it's going to complement him being able to get out there and uh, uh, to run some fakes on those read zones. That's a huge deal. That read zone, that it, it's such a plus for quarterbacks today, because it gives you so much you can do. You can, like I say, you can, run up the middle with it, run out wide with it, at the same time pass off of it. You can have a run play call, run the play, do the fake with the running back, and still throw the ball to the receiver if he's in a good spot, and the defense gives you what you want. I I can only imagine a Steve McNair with that type of offense. Gosh, he would have been killer, because just one guy wasn't going to bring him down. The guy was, 6'3", 240 pounds. He's just as big as a linebacker.
Mhm.
And and I'm telling you, those, little DBs do not want to tackle, a guy running a 4.5 at 240 pounds. I don't care if a linebacker defensive tackle, that hurts. That hurts tackling a guy that size for moving that fast. So, you know, I would get more creative with the read zones and RPOs with Justin Field, and just tell him, hey, in order for you to be successful, this is what we need to do. But make sure you stay healthy. Get down. Don't take no unnecessary hits, so we can live to fight another day.
You know, Fred, you bring up a great point too. I think a lot of that's just going to come with maturity for Justin. I mean, we're still talking about a quarterback here with 19 career starts, I believe the number is. But when you play, you guarded for a Hall of Fame quarterback in Kurt Warner, and was one of his greatest strengths is that Kurt knew what he could do and what he couldn't, who he was, who he wasn't. It seemed like he did a great job of avoiding those mistakes, those drive-killing interceptions. And,
Yeah.
he just seemed like he had a great knowledge of what he had to do to allow the greatest show on turf to keep churning.
Well, it's two things Kurt had going for. One, defenses weren't as complicated as they are today. They
Right.
weren't as complex. So they didn't try to trick you as much. And another thing he had was Mike Martz.
Yeah.
Mike Martz was a very, very, very smart offensive coordinator. We would go into our offensive meetings, and March was like, okay, we have this, and this. This DB is okay. This D tackle is okay. All right, we'll run it a little bit the first half. If they give us a pass, we'll do that. We'll score 40 points and we'll be done. So he went in every game knowing we're going to score 30, 40 points. That's how much confidence he had in what he was doing. And when we would go out there and practice, March would just tell him, okay, you see this look and this, throw it right here. And that's all Kurt had to do, is just make the throw. So a lot of times, too, what we did as an offense is March's big deal was to do a lot of shifts and motions. He would do these shifts and motions so the defense would have to tell the quarterback what they're doing, because you shifting in motion, and if the guy isn't running with you, then okay, then he's either going to come on a blitz or he's going to drop back and something. So it made the reads a lot easier. It made the reads a lot easier for Kurt. The thing that made us struggle uh, with that offense is if we had drops or if we missed blocking assignments. That's the only thing that really slowed us down. But Kurt was extremely accurate too. Extremely accurate. He was throwing the ball and giving these guys a chance to make a run after the catch. And he made it look really simple. I know some of those throws are pretty tough because just being around those quarterbacks, but he was very accurate, and just listen to Mike Martz, and we were in a good situation. It seems like every time we went out there on the field.
Yeah, he truly was one of the all-time greats. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Miller time on Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. We're with Super Bowl champion Fred Miller and the voice of Afternoon Drive, host of Q103.1 in Louisville, Kentucky, the voice of the American football fan, Matt Cooper. All right, Fred, I knew in your playing days, there were many a call that had you shaking your head. And you're like, what is this referee seeing? What are they not seeing? And from a Bears perspective, maybe one of the more infamous non-calls we've seen in Bears Nation over the last, I would say 20 years would be the non-pass interference call that we saw that wasn't called on Chase Claypool this past Sunday in the Bears' 35-32 loss to the Dolphins. For anyone who missed it, the Bears had third and 10 with 1:35 left, fellas. They're looking to rally from a 3-point deficit. Justin Fields goes deep in search of Chase Claypool, who's making his Bears debut after last week's trade deadline day blockbuster with the Steelers. Fields launches a 35-yard tomahawk that Claypool locates it. He's in position to haul it in for a must first down for the Bears. When Dolphins cornerback Keon Croson wraps him up with both arms in a reverse bear hug, and then safety Javon Holland hammers Claypool as well. Ball falls to the ground. Now, I've been telling everybody I've run into, I've been telling people in the lunchroom at work that this is the textbook definition of pass interference, guys. can I get your thoughts on this, Fred? How do two veteran NFL officials with close-up, crystal clear views of that play miss, in my opinion, a textbook example of PI?
Man, I think you have to get a ref on here for that one.
Yeah.
Man, you hear the conspiracy theories. Certain teams get certain calls, certain players get certain calls. We're in New England. When I was with the Titans, we're in New England for I want to say it was the division championship game. Yeah. And we're going down to score to win the game. So we're right about midfield. There's a timeout. The umpire comes up to us and say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna tell you like we told them. We're just gonna let you guys play. We're not throwing any flags. We do not want to control this game." Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So we run another play. We move up another 10, 15 yards. We're probably right about the 45 or so. It's absolutely freezing cold. I think all we need is a field goal to win it. We're not quite in field goal position. It's so cold. There's no way a ball's flying that far. So we call a screen pass. And our right guard, Benji Olsen, I guess the defensive tackle tries to bull rush, and Benji just pushes him down. Nowhere near a holding call. Not even close to a holding call. And the ref, so he completes the pass. We run down. We're in field goal position now. There's a flag on the play. They're like, "There's a flag." I'm like, "The guys just said they're not. He literally said, we're not gonna call any penalties. We're gonna let you guys play. We don't want to be the deciding factor."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Calls Benji for holding. Negates the huge game. So we wind up losing the game. And Benji's all tore up over. He was ready to kill the guy if he saw him.
And of course,
Next day we look at the play, and I'm telling you, this wasn't even a hold, not even close to a hold. And the next game next year we had that ref. Oh, Benji lays into him. Just lays into him. And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm laying into it." And I actually think he felt bad because normally that guy was like a dick to us. Just some refs you just don't get along with, and normally he was just kind of like a dick to us. And after that, he was great to us. He was great.
Yeah.
And what made me think, I'm like, wow, did this guy, did he really just set us up like that? Or, what's going on? He knew that he was wrong. It was just, I understand how sometimes that goes. I mean, you get some calls that don't get a call that totally affects a game, and especially affecting a playoff game that would have put us in the Super Bowl, because there's no way the Patriots were the only team that could beat us, that year. So would have put I think I would have had another ring if it wasn't for that call.
Fred, when we look at I got a question for you, because I found this kind of interesting with the trades of the NFL over the last the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So I want to say, like, pretend you were playing again, like if you were playing and you're on this Bears team, and it's kind of up and down. You guys got your young players playing and mixed with your veterans, but then you got your two guys getting traded away. So you see Roquan Smith get traded away to Baltimore. Right. And he looks like a stud. I watching him on Monday, and he's got Campbell and all these other stars. And then you see Quinn get traded to the Eagles. As a football player and as a veteran on that team, do you think to yourself, man, I'm kind of jealous in a way that these guys get to go and try to play for a championship. But at the same time, you're a football player and your goal is to go out there and win and play and try to win each game. But there might be a double sword to that.
Yeah, you can't help but to think, especially in the NFL. The NFL doesn't make trades. That's rare. This is rare.
This is why it's so
Trades
interesting to
just
me that this happened.
right. Trades
Yeah.
just don't happen. Just doesn't happen in the NFL. So that as a player, I would think, okay, well, they're kind of throwing this year out and trying to stock up for the next season. So, yeah, that would be a little definitely be discouraging. But again, you got to go out there and compete, and you still have a job that you have to try to keep, and so you got to go out there and play your heart out and still try to win ball games. And it's funny how they trade two of the best defense players away, and here they have. Now you having the quarterback coming out and Fields coming out and performing, great, and it's giving a different look to him now. So makes you wonder if they're thinking that they pulled the trigger a little too fast.
Yeah. You like you're talking about, Fred. That losing two like core pieces like the Bears did, losing Roquan and losing Robert at the deadline, put even more pressure on a young defense, which has now surrendered 35 or more points in each of the last 2 weeks. As you look at this young Bears defense, a lot to love, particularly I think in the secondary, Fred. Where do they need to improve the most, especially this coming Sunday against the Lions, a team that on paper they should beat?
Oh, gosh, man, that's really hard to say. Especially with Roquan being such a centerpiece of that defense. I think they just really just going to have to kind of rally together and everyone just try to pick up the slack, try to improve their play and everyone try to improve their individual techniques to collectively make them better as a defense, that really takes the steam losing the heart and soul of that defense is such a such a great player as Roquan. So, man, that's it's going to be interesting to watch and see how these guys try to make up the difference.
Yeah, and like you said, Fred, maybe the lines are coming along at the perfect time of the schedule, Matt. The Bears are a 3-point favorite coming into Sunday's noon showdown at Soldier Field. Matt, Matt and Fred, is there one specific player do you think defensively that needs to bear down and step up their game? Kind of try to minimize the loss a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to replace Robert Quinn or Will Smith, but who do you really think is in the spotlight now that needs to step up to become an impact player for this defense?
Gosh, I don't think it's just one player.
Yeah.
I think it's just I think it's going to have to just be a collective unit type deal. I don't know if they have the talent that a Roquan Smith had. And, a guy who's making over 100 tackles a season, man, that's hard, that's hard to replace. And that's an individual talent. And so I think collectively as a group, they're just going to have to do their jobs extremely well. Everyone don't try to do more than you can do and just be very sound at what you're coached to do. Just play together as a unit.
As we look at this game Sunday, Fred, do you always find it a little bit more difficult too? Because the Lions are coming, they're 2-6. They struggled a little bit this year. They actually they have some good on their team too, like the Bears do. There's some good and there's some bad. But how much harder is it to play a divisional opponent, a team that you see a little bit more? And because I always feel like you have that rival. You always have that rival, no matter what team it is in that division. I feel like you always get up for that, even if it's the Lions.
Yeah. Well, to me, I thought it was easy just because you know them. Because, traditionally what you try to do is you try to build your team to beat to beat the teams in your division. So you know them and they know you. So it's just a matter of going out there and performing your individual techniques and winning more snaps than your opponent does. So I always found it easier to play against the guys in our division just because you know them so well.
Yeah, you know him so well, you kind of get familiarity with him, Fred. Is Sunday a must-win for the continued progress of this Bears team?
Yeah. What's their well?
Yeah, they'll come
What's their record right now?
They're 3-6 now.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to make the playoffs with the Vikings at what 7-1,
Yeah, seven
seven
to
and one
one.
or 8-1. Yeah, and it's going to be tough to make the playoffs. But at the same time, you want to go out there and compete and and just have fun. Put a good product on the field for the fans. Just try to build on for the next year. Chances are the season is over with just
Yeah,
with the six losses, and um, it's going to be really hard. But can you make you know, you can make the playoffs at the 12. Yeah, I think a 12-6 will make the playoffs, right? It's 18 games now, right? So
Hmm.
yeah,
yeah.
so the 12-6. So if they went on a run, so
I
yeah,
love
I would say I don't. Well, let's take it one. Let's take it one game at a time and just kind of build on. Yeah, but yeah, they're definitely in a must-win situation. You definitely need to win the games in your division. Um, and like I say, just take it one game at a time.
yeah,
And just kind of build your way and try to get your way back to back to 500. You get to 500, then it's a whole new season then.
yeah.
And so I think that's what the goal should be. All right, let's get to 500. Let's take it one game at a time, and they might have something to talk about, towards the latter part of the season, especially with Fields playing so well. If he can keep that play up, then um, we can probably see some good things. Might surprise us at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on the record, fellas. Let's get your predictions for this Sunday. Let's start with you, Fred. If you had to call it, what do you call it? Bears Lions.
Oh, definitely Bears.
Yeah.
Definitely Bears. I think they're riding on a high right now. I think Fields is playing well. He's starting to come in. He's starting to come into his own, and I think the defense will start to pick it up. That's what happens too in this game is that the offense and the defense we feed off each other, especially in the special team. We definitely fed off of Devin Hester.
Yeah.
So um, in my way, he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Amen to
But
that, Fred.
it's but it's the guys are definitely going in the right direction, and the Detroit is going in the wrong direction. So I like it. I
Love
like the
it too.
Bears.
Matt Cooper, the voice of the American football fan. Matt, double shot for you. Your call for Sunday, and then give me your yardage for Justin Rushing.
All right. Well, I think we just heard Fred said the Bears are going to win the rest of their games the rest of the year, so I can't. I like it though. I like it. See, I think this is definitely a winnable game because at some point to build this young team, they want to get some wins here, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to do it against the Lions. So I'm going to pick the Bears. I think the only thing I'm looking for the Lions is I like their Hutchinson that they have on their team, the rookie they drafted this year. That's really, really good. That I hope the Bears can grab somebody like him next year. Their pass rusher, I think I'm looking forward to that matchup. But I think Justin Fields is going to continue his streak here. I think he's going to be able to run again. I think he's going to get another 100 yards rushing, and I think they're going to score some touchdowns. And I just think they're going to outscore the Lions, and they're going to finally get back another win here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I'm calling Bears 24-20. And Fred, you were talking about this. Matt brought up the point too. This is the chance for this team to get back to 500 because we've got Detroit this week. We're at Atlanta on November 20th, And then we go back to the Meadowlands for the Jets, who are off to a remarkable start for them on November 27th. So 3 winnable games that, if they can pull off, will put us right back at 500 going into the Green Bay game at Green Bay on December 4th.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think that should be the focus right now is to get to 500, one game at a time, which is doable. Then we can start talking about getting into the playoffs and making that run.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Fred, I tell you what, you did so much in your career. One of the great offensive linemen over the last 20, 25 years in the NFL. For our viewers watching, can you give us a kind of a quick update? What are you up to these days?
Oh man, just kind of hanging around with kids, coaching kids, baseball. Matter of fact, we lost our playoff game yesterday, which was a big letdown for us. Kids play well, but they just wasn't good enough, and so just kind of hanging out with the family, man. Just doing the family thing.
Great, living the dream, absolutely. And we forget to mention also not just the Super Bowl champion, he is brand new World Series champion, Fred Miller, whose Astros won it in 6 days Saturday night over the Phillies. How sweet was that for you as a lifelong Phillies fan?
Oh man, it was sweet. It was sweet, especially after all the hoopla over the scandal and the trash can whole thing. So many people were talking about the Astros with cheers. Everyone tries to get that upper edge, and the whole league was doing it. They got caught. So, but they came back and had a tremendous season, and they started off a little. It started off a little slow after Game 5, and I was starting to question a little bit. But man, they really came back and played well. Was happy to see that Verlander got his first win in the World Series. I happy to see that Dusty got his first World Series ring, and but man, it's I think when Houston. When Drake McClain sold the team, Houston they got rid of everybody. Just cleaned house. Said that they were going to build a organization from the ground up and just go with nothing but farm league players and in the draft. And gosh, a lot of people weren't happy with it when they did it. A lot of people weren't happy with for 3 years, but gosh, it has paid off. They've been so successful for the last 7, 8 years. Been in 3 World Series. Been in 4 World Series, and gosh, they're just and still looking strong. They're probably the favorites to win it next year. Still a very young team, and we've lost some great guys in the Correa and
George Springer.
And they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my favorite guys was Charlie Morton. Lost him.
Great.
Right. Lose what's his name to the Yankees.
Garrett Cole. Yeah.
Garrett Cole.
Really
Garrett Cole. Right. And come back, and what do you have this year? They have the best ERA out of any club. They set a record for strikeouts in the World Series. They throw a combined no-hitter in the World Series. You get Pena to replace Correa, and he only wins an MVP as a rookie. I mean, right? He gets an MVP and he gets a Golden Glove as a rookie.
A Golden Glove, probably AL Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Fred, absolutely. Yeah, they are built.
Just
but bitter as a White Sox fan over here. That's all.
Yeah, Matt.
Hey, well, my Astros took it on the chin from the White Sox at one time. So
Definitely revenge served cool without question for
yeah.
Fred Astros this year. Fred, this has been our absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us here on Monsters of the Madhouse on Chicago Sports Podcast, brought to you by TC's World of Wonders. Fellas, I got to throw this in here. Our executive producer of Chicago Sports Podcast and our great friend, can't be with us, Brandon Hyatt. Brandon's putting his Bears prediction in. Trackstronomus, as we call him, Fred, is calling 42-24 Bears over the Lions, with Justin Fields running wild for 125 rushing.
You know what? I just picked up Justin Fields in my fantasy, so
Really?
I'm playing them. If you're saying 42 points, woo.
And he's also calling 3 passing touchdowns. That is Trackstronomus, Brandon Hyatt. So absolutely, good luck to you. I hope he puts up 40 for you this week, Fred.
Right.
This has been an absolute pleasure. A big thank you to all of our viewers. So many people. Douglas Coppice, Cheryl Chiders, all of our great viewers. Also, thank you, Matt Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the American football fan, an afternoon drive host at Louisville's very own Q103.1. Fellas, thanks again. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next week here, folks. Right here, former Bears standout wide receiver Bernard Berrien will be joining us here on Monsters of the Madhouse. We appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next week. Good night.
See you guys later.
Thank you so much, guys.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no